Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Thank you very much for joining me. Our patient is 86A, our favorite. Now there's nothing, well, there wouldn't be anything special about this one, but this one was recovered from that plane that crashed in Kentucky. Actually, no, I think this one arrived like a day before that plane crashed. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to recover all those packages because I hear it was pretty bad. I haven't really seen any pictures or anything, but last night my wife updated me that there were 12 fatalities in that accident. It was the UPS plane. Crazy, but it happens. Unfortunately, it happens, and it's probably unrelated to the FAA technicians and probably unrelated to the government shutdown, but who knows. Speaking of which, it got pretty interesting in Northridge Fix's comment section when he had that visit from FAA. Three guys, visiting the facility just to get the phone number or an address or a name of the customer. And a lot of people in the comment section said that that could have been one guy, but when I saw it immediately, I'm glad a lot of people are sharing this opinion, but in my view, when I saw it, I immediately thought to myself, hey, this could have been an email. Like, you really don't need to, and the explanation that they provided afterwards, right? I think that was yesterday when Alex did an update on that case, was that there's three of them because they all have their area of expertise. So in case of questions, they want all of them to be there so they can provide an answer and stuff like that. To me that sounds insulting explanation of that, because it doesn't make sense, because again, email could have solved all that and you would be able to also provide accurate answers without dragging three people across the town to a location. To me, I don't know, obviously, because I wasn't there and I don't work for FAA or whatever. But to me, that looked clearly like an intimidation tactic. But we don't know. We don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe because the government shut down, they don't really have much to do, so they figured, let's not write emails. Let's just go to the location because we're bored. It's not their fault. The government's shut down, right? So I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem in that whole case. It resulted from someone reporting this incident or reporting that Alex is fixing plane parts and he's not certified to do so, and him immediately doxing the guy. I mean, the YouTube whatever was it, YouTube nickname or something, I don't know, something relatively identifiable, not his PII, but still, it is in a way identifiable. So I immediately interpreted that as a retaliation. Basically, what you're doing is you want your community to go after someone as a retaliation because they reported you to FAA, which in my view, it was, actually, it doesn't really matter what my view is on it. The only problem I have with that, when Alex was talking about it, is that his conclusion is that the guy reported him for fun, for no reason, or for the fun of it, or something like that. How could you possibly know that? That is the whole problem with Alex. He never sees his, he never sees like I could have done something right, or just take the criticism, especially when it's reasonable. We don't know who that guy was that reported him. Maybe he's a retired FAA technician, right? And maybe he recognized the board. The problem I had with that, because I didn't actually see the video, but Alex summarized it, that there was a blown resistor on the board, right? And he found the picture of the same board to find that resistor, replace the resistor, and the board works, right? But my problem with that is that the resistors don't just blow by themselves for no reason. That's why you need a certified technician, and maybe the guy that reported him was familiar with the case, and he knows that. I've seen that in a few of his videos. Maybe the guy knew that, hey, I know why it happened, right? And now you should do this or should do that or whatever. Oh, there was something else in the some other flux in my needle. That's crazy. So we don't know that, but to immediately assume that the guy did it for fun, you know, I've seen it in like I left a comment on that video. That was a GPU, I think, blown fuse, right? Again, he replaced the fuse and the board works, right? The card works. But again, the fuse doesn't blow just by itself for no reason, right? So I even left a comment, dude, replace the coils. You already have the board on your bench, replace the coils. Most likely, if the fuse blows, the easiest solution is to replace the coils, because if one of them is faulty, then occasionally the fuse will blow. It's pretty common. So just do that. But I don't know if you even read my comment, or maybe it's automatically removed. Who knows? I don't check on my comments once I make them. But that is my whole point, that maybe the person that reported you to FAA, they know exactly what is the issue with the plane, and they had concerns that, hey, you didn't check that, or you didn't replace that, that's the procedure, or whatever, right? And a lot of people, there were mixed opinions, and I don't know myself either, right? So I'm not going to pretend I'm knowledgeable on the subject, but common sense tells me that it doesn't matter if it's your plane or not your plane. There are certain components of the plane that not only ensure your safety, but also safety of other aircraft around you, like I don't remember what it's called, but it's basically a piece of electronics that every plane has to have, and it's basically an identifier. And you can even build a small radio or download the software and connect SDR to find nearest planes around you, right? Depending on the strength of your antenna, the pickup strength of your antenna. So if that stops working, then suddenly you're invisible, so other plane can crash into you. The other components that you rely on to keep the plane in the air, also, if they stop working, the plane crashes. And guess what? People live on the planet above which you are flying your private aircraft, right? You can crash into other planes, or you can just land on someone's house. So no, it's not as easy, just summarizing it that, hey, this is my plane, so I just do whatever I want with it, and I send boards for repair to unauthorized technicians, and then I put it back on my plane because it's my plane. Yeah, but you're flying on, as long yeah, you can do that as long as you don't fly the plane, sure. But if you do fly the plane, you have to meet some standards, safety standards. So it's not that easy to just brush it off, saying that it's a private plane, right? And you don't carry passengers. Even so, fine, you're not carrying passengers, but you're flying on the sky that we all share. So we don't want faulty planes there. But again, now looks like Alex is going to be a certified FAA technician, which is amazing. I don't know how the guy does it, but his success knows no bounds. You know, it's like crazy how successful he is. I don't know, is he lucky or is he really that good? Maybe a little bit of both. You always need to have a little luck in your life. And that's the best advice from me. Just be lucky. You want to be successful in life? Just be lucky. Well, what are you gonna do? But again, my only problem is that, immediately that's not good. There's gonna be flux on my coffee now. It's not a problem. It's not poisonous or anything, but I prefer my coffee without flux. Well, I'm gonna have to clean that off, but this side is good. So a little flux coffee. That's why I use this flux, because it's safe. It's not only about my preference, but my son hangs out in my shop a lot. I can't be using harsh chemicals and stuff. I have to use natural stuff, natural chemicals. But yeah, that's pretty much my only complaint with Alex. Just immediately assume that someone is not concerned or has some valid criticism. No, immediately assume that they're haters, they just want to see you fail, and they do it for no reason, or they're jealous or whatever. With the flux that he makes, same thing. The consensus that he had was that you're holding it wrong. This flux is the best, and you're just not using it right. And there is a little bit of something to it, just to play a little bit of devil's advocate. But what he doesn't seem to realize is that different people have different needs, right? My flux works perfectly for me, but when I send it to Tony, he has slightly different needs than mine, right? So it works for some purposes, but I'm still trying to get the proper blend for his reballing needs, right? And probably not the same flux is going to be used for both purposes, right? It's difficult to create a blend that will work for everything. Same with Nathan. Recently, he's been using my flux for like a week now, and for the most part, it's very positive. But there are some, you can see him switching back and forth between my flux and Antec, right? Because for different procedures, different needs, use different flux. Perfectly normal. But instead of just telling people that they're using your flux wrong, just improve your flux for those purposes. Because at the end of the day, it's not about you convincing people that your flux is good. It's, you're making a flux for the customers, for your consumers, for your clients, right? And the measure of how good that flux is the opinion of the customers using it. So if they don't like it for any reason, you can just turn around and say that they're using it wrong. I know Apple can do that, right? You're holding the phone wrong, that's why you can't make a phone call. Sure. But Apple is a little bit unique in that regard. And the uniqueness is basically, they're $1 trillion or billions of dollars company, so they can do stuff like that, and there's a brand loyalty. Some people will buy Apple product just for the reason that it is Apple product, right? They don't consider whether it's better than competition or is it even good for them. No, it's gotta have an Apple logo on it, and as long as it does, I'm happy with the product. Well, so that's why they can afford to do stuff like that. But if you want to sell flux, you have to deliver the blend that people will like. And there's always going to be some drawbacks and some trade-offs of different kinds, right? Different components you use. I'm just firmly on the, organic blends, right? Safe components, safe materials, all natural, because that's what I personally need, but there are trade-offs, right? It's not gonna give you the same results that the synthetic Flux will give you, and that's something you just have to live with. I'm still improving my formula, right? Been working on it for I don't know how long, maybe a year now. Because before I released it, I've been using it for a while. Then my first batch was not that great, then second, third, and so on. With each one, I'm improving something, but the reason I'm improving is because I collect feedback. I listen to people using it. And in many cases, I get really good feedback. But in every great feedback, like great review that I get of my Flux, there's always something that could have been improved, right? So, I like the smell, I like the flow, but it's bubbling, right? Or I don't mind that it's bubbling, I like the smell, but it's hard to push out, or it dries quickly, or it's, that kind of stuff. There's always something that can be improved, or perhaps it cannot be improved, and it's just a result of the decision made, like we want to use because in all fairness, I can reproduce Alex's Flux no problem, right? I know the chemical composition of it, how to make it, where to get the chemicals. I could do it even today. I mean, I could order stuff today. Obviously, I couldn't do it in one day. And it's super easier because you already get refined materials, and all you have to do is just dissolve, mix, and put in the tubes, and that's it. And I'm done. And it will work. It will perform in many cases. Will perform much better than my organic Flux. So it's not a problem of a knowledge or availability of the materials or anything. It's just I decided I want to make a Flux and use the Flux that is perfectly safe. So when I drop it in my coffee, I can still drink my coffee, right? If my son by accident touches the Flux and then licks his fingers and stuff, it's safe, right? Maybe it'll give him diarrhea, but nothing beyond that. So, sometimes it's a trade-off. But yeah, there are few technicians on YouTube that just really don't seem to want to accept any kind of feedback. They just want to figure out everything by themselves, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm kind of similar myself. But if you create a product, then the measure of the success of your product is the reception by the customers. Does it work for them? And if it doesn't, how quickly can you improve? Well, what are you gonna do? That's perfectly fine. May he be successful, in my view. I don't care. Anyways, I don't know if that plane crash was related to government shutdown or anything like that, but looks like the blue wave is arriving relatively fast, and looks like some Republicans are changing their tune, especially Vivek Ramaswamy. I found it so funny. Not that I'm disagreeing with him, but he basically says that we should stop playing identity politics and focus on the affordability, right? Did you guys hear that? And I perfectly agree, sure. But number one problem that I have with that, I thought Trump already solved the affordability problems and stuff, so we're all rich and we're all successful. We all have money and groceries are cheap. Number two, now you want to stop playing identity politics now that you are on the receiving end of racism and identity politics. Now that he's being ruled for not being Christian and, essentially his ethnicity and stuff, now that he's being targeted, it was fine when he was targeting Haitians and stuff, right? That was fine. Haitians, Mexicans, whatever, right? That was all good. But now that he is being attacked by the beast he helped create it, now we have to stop playing identity politics. Well, as I said, I just find it more funny than anything else. How quickly they changed the tune. You know, I would respect him more if he stayed true to his message before. Right? He just doubled down on it. At least I would have a little bit of respect. Actually, I would have a lot of respect, because once you're if say you're fighting for a certain law to be passed, and then that law passes, and then you are being prosecuted because of that. So if at that point you say, okay, I will gladly be prosecuted, I helped with passing of that law, so I will just accept my punishment, right? That would impress me a lot, right? So if Vivek just said now that, yeah, you're right, I'm not a Christian, so I'm not gonna run for whatever he was running in Ohio, governor, whatever. So that would at least, that would impress me a lot, because there's a guy that puts his money where his mouth is, right? But no, as soon as the law starts prosecuting him, that's no longer good. We've seen this a DUI arrest of a ICE agent. That was I think that was in Florida or Georgia. I don't know. He was from, or is from, Miami, right? He lives in Miami, and that's where he was going, and driving. Oh, maybe not wasted, but sufficiently drunk. Slurred speech, and and with 2 kids in the back, his own flesh and blood, in the back seat. And that's the guy that prosecutes illegals, because it's such a bad thing to be an illegal alien. But DUI? Nah. And did you guys see, because I've seen the whole footage from the body cam. He tried everything to get out of it, that I work for DHS, and he didn't even say ICE. Then later it was discovered that it's ICE. So you want special treatment because you work for DHS, but you won't even disclose who do you actually work for. So what, are you ashamed of it? I thought you were doing such a great job. Or I thought you were doing such a great job, and everybody is on your side. So why are you withholding the fact that you work for ICE? Are you ashamed of it? Well, we'll see. Because, the charges were dropped against him and something like that. So he did get away with it. I would still be in jail waiting for my trial, probably, if I did something like that. But, if you work for ICE, I guess you get special treatment. Well, I have simplest solution to that problem. I just don't drive drunk. Not even drive drunk. I have a rule: if my lips even touch the beer, even if I had one sip, I no longer drive that day. And that works for me. Never had an DUI. Never been in trouble. And when there are special circumstances, like I had to pick up my son from school. That was, I don't know, maybe a year ago, something like that. And I already had a beer, because I wasn't planning on doing that. But no problem. I called an Uber, right? Gave the Uber guy. We pulled up to the school. I gave the Uber guy some cash, and asked him to wait for me, and he did. He was actually from, I don't remember, some South American country. It wasn't Mexico. It was some other country. His English was a little poor, so it was kind of difficult to communicate. But we made it, and I gave him, I don't remember, I think I gave him like $40 tip. He even looked at me and handed me back the money and said, "Are you sure?" Sure? Well, yeah. he saved my bottom because, you know, I had to pick up the kid from school, but I couldn't drive. So, you know, you gotta appreciate that. But anyways, that is my solution. But looks like ICE doesn't believe in that laws apply to them. And the same, did you see, that was actually pretty recently, the district attorney, I don't remember where it was, and nor do I care, but the lady, very entitled lady, district attorney, right, and basically she didn't stop, so the cop had to follow her all the way to her garage, right? But that doesn't matter if you think that if you get to your garage, suddenly you're off the hook. No, it's still a traffic stop. So now you just gave the cops the basically permission through circumstances to enter your house because you fled, right? And she still got pretty preferential treatment, but at every step of the way, she implied that since she's the A, she can exceed speed limit. She can not stop for the cop. She's not gonna give him the license. No, she's just gonna give him the phone to call someone to basically tell him to go away, right? And like fully convinced, that's our district attorney. Fully convinced that laws only apply to other people, not to the district attorney. Horrible, guys, absolutely horrible. But that's it's nothing new. It's been like that for the longest time, and it's not like it's like that everywhere and every cop is a bad cop or stuff like that. It just, that there's always going to be some bad apples here and there. That's what I mean, that it's always been like that. So it's not fair to just accuse every cop of being a bad cop or district attorney. But it's important to realize that there are some, and they should be prosecuted the same way they prosecute, meaning fair, because I don't know if they prosecute fairly, right? So maybe not the same way, but they need to obey the same rules. And there's a saying that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But the problem with that is that you're just kind of shifting responsibility to the power, right? You're a good guy, but you were trusted with power, and that's what corrupted you. No, I think you were corrupt to begin with, and it's not the power that corrupts. The power just reveals your character or lack of. So that's kind of my view on that. That's why I don't believe the power corrupts. I believe that some people should not be in the position of power, plain and simple, and there should be some way of ensuring that, right? Some checks and balances. Anyways, looks like now the consumer confidence is going up, and the optimism is kind of going up after the election. I'm glad that Republicans are just kind of denying it, just saying that it was just few blue states that won because they always win. But Georgia is not a blue state. Virginia is not a blue state. I mean, I'm not saying it's purely red, right? My home state, Georgia. I would say it's rather purple. But a little more reddish than bluish. And we also have a lot of farmers and stuff over here, right? I mean, if I live in the Atlanta area, but when we just go anywhere, we have to go through the rural area, and I love rural Georgia. I think it's awesome. I wouldn't mind having a little, small farm, nothing big. But small farm, maybe some chickens, couple cows, maybe some goats, some pigs, right? And maybe a little patch of land where I would grow something, right? Most likely corn, because it's easy. It's easy, it's delicious, and you can make fuel out of it. So it's much better than soybeans, because soybeans, all you can do with them is just sell them to Chinese, and and not much more you can do with that. So maybe that was the problem that farmers had to face. Just, I don't know. If you go with soybean, you get pretty much very little wiggle room what to do with that product. And with corn, you can sell it to supermarkets, right, as corn. You can sell it to, what do they call them? The distilleries, right? To make alcohol, or to make biofuel, that kind of stuff. So there's plenty of things you can do. Plus, recently my wife made tamale, really good, and you make them you cook them in the husk of the corn, right? So that is being used from that because it's not edible, right? You don't need that, because these are like the leaves around the corn. From other parts of the corn, you make pipes. You can make even furniture from that stuff. You can make a lot of stuff. Corn is pretty good. It's a pretty good plant, pretty good grain. Is it grain or vegetable? I think it depends on how you. Yeah, it's both grain and vegetable, I think. So even that, it's even undecided whether it's grain or vegetable. Okay, I don't really like this solder here. What's my temperature here? 370, so that should be good. I'm not sure. I'm mixing a new batch of ceramic, because this is the first batch that I made some time ago. And so now it should be even better. So maybe there is a problem with batch 1, because it doesn't look that great. But also I think my soldering iron is kind of done, but it's the only tip I have for this kind of work. Well, anyway, now we'll see. My only incentive here is for America to do well, because it's my home, it's my beloved country. I just want the country to be successful. And I don't care if it's a Republican president or Democratic president or independent or whoever. Either make this country great or keep this country great. Okay, you know what? Let's try it. And let's use Whiskey Tango for this. Slightly separated, but that's fine. Let's test this. So let's do a good amount of Whiskey Tango, because this is better for ceramic is pretty good for BGA for sure, and for like general soldering as well, but I think this one will work better. Let's see. Whiskey Tango. If it ain't whiskey, it ain't gonna work. It's more like it. That is more like it. Oh, you. I gotta see what's wrong with my iron. It doesn't want to turn off when I replace the handle. I mean, it will eventually, but I have to like position it, pull it, push it, jiggle it a little before it lets loose, before it actually turns off. And sometimes it'll just turn on by itself, which is not ideal. There. I think this is better. And let's take a look at our ground once again. I don't know about this. Yeah, let's use Whiskey Tango on the ground as well, and we should be done. It's taking a little longer than it normally does, but that's fine, because the shop became a little slower this month compared to last month. But last month was very busy compared to other months, and there's been problems here and there. So it's been kind of stressful. I kind of started applying for jobs again, but it's not going well. It's not really giving me any results. Nobody's hiring, and people that are hiring are just kind of weird, or the companies that are hiring, kind of requirements are kind of weird, and I gotta jump through some hoops. And I told myself I'm not doing AI interviews anymore. Or I don't know, especially if the company is especially kind of not admirable too much, then I just tell them that if they want to give me the AI interview, link to the AI interview, I just tell them, yeah, no problem, I'll send you a link to my AI robot that will answer all the questions that your AI robot might have, and we'll go from there. But of course they don't want to do that. Now it looks good, the ground. Yeah, Whiskey Tango is definitely my favorite blend. Sierra Mike is good. I mean, I definitely use it for BGA work. It's really good for BGA, or at least in my opinion. Cleans easy as well, and it's a good product. I stand behind my product. And I'm working on a hybrid, and I have a few other ideas regarding improving my Flux, but this one works perfectly fine. As you can see, both of them pretty much work perfectly fine. So, but it is sticky. It is sticky. So if you don't like sticky Flux, this isn't Flux for you. Or just use proper equipment, like gloves and stuff. All right, looking good. And I think we can end here. It's been a while since we did any rants recently, but that's only because we were kind of busy. Now we're kind of slow again. C'est la vie. Alrighty, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you. And I shall see you guys in the next one.